I was looking at sort of your paradigm here of 5 different cultures which a company can adopt. I mean, in reality, and I can only speak from my experience, I worked for a number of global companies, you don't really find, again, in my experience, the customer-centric culture or versus achievement. Most companies, I think, especially when they grow and they transcend their founders, they find themselves in a kind of mishmash and confusion of, for some areas of the company, achievement is important. For others, if you ask the senior management, they'll say that they're a people-centered culture. and people in the boiler room, they're worried about losing their jobs. They don't even see that there is a culture. They just see that they're going to be fired 2 weeks from now if they don't perform. So, when consulting especially with medium-sized and larger companies, how do you even approach the notion that there should be one prevailing culture in the entire organization versus what I think really happens in everyday life?
I'd like to make a distinction. Successful high-performance companies tend to have these 5 at the same time in different places, but they can strengthen one at a time. So the distinction is, you can go to an organization that is highly innovative and highly focused on the client and is really good in most of these things. In fact, the companies that have very strong culture are normally good in many of this at the same time in different areas. R&D, they're really about innovation, but then the sales force is really about achievement, so you see that happening. But when they want to improve, they can do it one at a time. So they cannot say, well, now let's strengthen the 5 of them at the same time. So they say, well, what is there's a concept of, I don't know whether you read the book, The Goal by Goldratt. He says, there's only one weakest link in a chain. It doesn't matter if you strengthen any part of the chain that is not the weakest link. It's not going to make the chain stronger. The only thing that is going to make the chain stronger is strengthening the weakest link. And normally, when you see an organization, you see one thing that is the bottleneck for strengthening the culture, and you just really need to go to that. So I don't know. I remember when we were just starting Axialent, we hired this expert guru in London who leads our London office of culture, and she came and said, "Do you have a culture of accountability?" Yes, of course. I said, "Okay, Andy, how much are you expected to sell next quarter?" I said, "Well, we have a budget for this year of 15 million, and no, you. How much are you expected to sell next quarter?" I said, "Well, I don't know." Well, that's a problem. You don't have a culture of accountability. And we realized that was the thing that we need to work on. And we worked on it for 2 years. And then we sat down and we said, well, now pretty good at measuring things. Now, what's the next thing? Well, we're not listening to our clients enough. Now, let's become really client-focused. So I agree with you, but the distinction is, one thing is the end game of strengthening all of them, and the other thing is the way to get there, which is really working on them one at a time. If you start trying to do 2 or 3 things at the same time, that's going to be a difficult message for people to understand.